we've been talking about this signal loss that's coming for a long time. In the last few years, you've read about every brand was, we got to get first-party data. And even if you're not a direct-consumer brand, you've got to accumulate that. Have we maybe, is that still where we are? Or are we kind of maybe, did the pendulum swing a little bit too far? Like, there was just like third party is dead. We have to have, there's only one way of doing things. Where are things now?
I mean, speaking from obviously a United perspective, we're probably at the tail end of building out our identity spine and graph, and it's pretty critical to get that right before you work with a TransUnion or everybody, because that has to be foundationally right. If you think about the data that we have, we flew 174 million people last year, and all the signals that, whether it's they sit on the aisle or a window seat, what food and drink they eat, what they're watching, do they carry a pet, are they a military vet, all that sort of stuff. Those are huge signals, as well as when things go wrong, if a plane is late. We should be capturing that data because it will affect someone's mindset. So getting that basis right in terms of ID graph is critical. I think from an industry perspective, what I'm seeing is people are still trying to get that right. I think there was a rush to kind of enrich first before they got built the foundations of the house correctly. But that's where we are, and obviously that's why we then could launch genuinely connected media in a good scale product. So,
what about your perspective, Jeremy? Because you work with a range of clients. Some of them probably had really good data to begin with, some less so. Is the rush still on, or are they pulling back? What's going on?
No, the rush is still there, but I think to Richard's point, getting it right, I mean, that was the conversation that we would have with all of our clients is, how is it set up? Is it structured in a way that it's actionable? Can we start to use it? Because everybody, I think inherently, every one of our clients knows their data is going to be the most valuable data. And then if we can take that and use that as a basis to help us enrich it, understand it more, identify expansion audiences, that's going to be, that's going to be the holy grail in terms of really making their marketing dollars work harder.
Matt, you're nodding. Was there an aversion to bringing different data sets together over the last couple of years? Are you seeing more attempts at integrating all these pieces?
I don't know if there's an aversion, but I don't know that people appreciated just how hard it was, I think, to Richard's point. We did research in January that showed, on average, companies have 16 different marketing technology stacks that are actually siloing their data. And so, yeah, listen, on one hand, to be able to have that infrastructure so that you can easily access any signal from your customers makes a ton of sense. But we're also really sensitive to that. As much as United knows or any of Jeremy's client knows about any individuals, about us, there's a lot most companies don't know. And so the trick is, and what we spend a lot of time advising customers is, maximize your use of the data you have, but if you stop there, you're going to limit your ability to grow outside of what is your known customer set. And so I think what has happened in the industry, we did adopt a little too much of the, well, just my own data and I'm good, versus, as Jeremy, I think you said it well, that's the great foundational asset. But then how do you build from it? And the reality is there is signal out there that you will want that you don't sit on, that very few companies have. Companies like TransUnion spend a lot of time sourcing all of this signal to provide it when you need it in a just-in-time basis.
I want to come back to that outside signal, but Jeremy, I'm wondering if you could talk about it seemed pretty simple over the last few years that you could just achieve identity resolution for whatever partner you wanted to, and kind of figure out, okay, that's my customer here, that's my customer there, done. How is that playing out in reality, and maybe what are the gaps, what are the needs there?
I think it goes back to what we were just talking about. I think that there was work that we would do from an audience perspective, then there's work that we would do from an optimization perspective. So from an audience perspective, there would be things that we do around persona development, trying to understand behavioral attributes, psychographic attributes. And some of that would be inferred based on the brand and the brand positioning, and some of it would be based on their actual first-party data. But sometimes you weren't able to bridge the gap between the two, and I think that was the big struggle. So working with clients to help them understand how to make their data work and actionable, that's been the heaviest lift, because I think, to Matt's point, especially when data is sitting in a bunch of siloed places, it's been really hard for clients to do it. So to talk about it has been pretty easy. To actually make it actionable, that's been the bigger challenge.
Richard, when you're trying to integrate data sets and find the right partner, figuring out what spine matters, what graph works, what kind of questions do you need to ask? What do you need to know?
Well, we partner with sort of Matt and the team. It's depth and breadth of that enrichment is really, really critical. I mean, the great thing is with our audience base, they're real people. So you talk about are they syndicated or bots or whatever. We have real people that fly on planes, so that's important. But that enrichment piece becomes really imperative because those insights that we don't see, we have a lot of first-party data signals. There's a bunch of insights, which we'll probably cover shortly, that we just did not know about. And that becomes very business and commercially impactful. So that was important when we went through the diligence with these guys.
Matt, when we're talking about trying to do this omni-channel resolution, is it still a black box for a lot of brands? Are we making progress? What are you finding?
Yeah, listen, I don't think most marketers appreciate the level of data science that goes into this identity challenge. But I'm also not sure how many marketers need to understand that depth. Maybe the marketing science teams of these organizations. I don't think organizations shouldn't. I just think we should be clear about what role you're playing in this kind of marketing journey. And one of the things that I think one of the dangers of a lot of these conversations, we often get lost in the sausage making of it all and forget that what we're doing is actually making more personalized, relevant marketing happen. And at the end of the day, that is a data journey, and it's a connected data journey. And we all want to, or listen, we, on behalf of our clients, because we enable guys like this, we don't do this for ourselves, we do it for customers, is we know that whether you're working on for a client or you are the marketer, or you're trying to push inventory, no matter what, your mission is to deliver a quality, relevant experience that consumers will react to. Yeah. That is a data journey. What I think we all would be well served in this industry if we do appreciate that just because you say the word identity or you say the word data doesn't mean you're an expert. Right? And I do think we struggle with that a little bit.
And I think that's the biggest challenge that we see, both on the agency side and the client side, is the skill sets needed. It's hard to evaluate exactly what you need and get the right resources to help go on that journey and understand and unpack what the data can really do for you. I think that's been the biggest hurdle that we've seen, especially with our clients.
And maybe I would just add this point to that end, which is there's really actually few of us in this industry that focus on this problem uniquely, right? Again, we're not a media company, we're not a marketer. Our job is to understand the data landscape and turn that into products and services that actually work to serve the industry. And I think one of the things to judge when you think about how to go about doing this ecosystem is, again, an add-on data strategy from your media strategy it's not the same thing. I would be careful about that.
Sorry, just one addition, because you said it right from a strategic perspective, but we certainly had our own data science and analytics team work with Matt's team, because that's, I don't necessarily want to know how the sausage is made, but they do, right? So that is actually really important, that they really understand how the insights and that data is driven and how that enhances our first-party data. So that was a big step for us.
All right, Jeremy, what about the idea, like Matt had to that you don't want to just talk to your customers, a lot of brands are starting to talk about going beyond their known audience. But you want to do that without tripping over privacy laws or regulations. How do you work with clients and thinking that way?
Yeah, the way that we'll do it, I mean, what we want to focus on with our clients is who's your core, who's got the best lifetime value, and then what are some signals that we can start to look at within that audience? What are some other data providers that we can work with, especially in a clean room environment, to start to identify other signals and build expansion audiences? Then the other piece is we want to not only limit ourselves to one or two, we want to create as many as possible so that we can go out and start to test and then figure out how we can optimize and understand what's working versus what's not. But the biggest thing that we do talk with our clients about is it's great if you've got this one audience that's really working for you and that drives a lot of lifetime value. But we've got to continually look at how we push that envelope and get a larger audience and push and expand. That's the biggest thing. And it's risky because you want to be careful with your dollars and you don't want to spend against people that you don't know if they're going to convert. So you want to try and get as much information as possible, but there is time where you just have to go out and you have to start testing and optimizing against what you see.
Is that relatable, Richard? Or you're in a good position? Like you said, you've got a lot of data on your customers. You know them well, but you always want to grow, right? Are you finding challenging to go out and find the unknowns, or how do you resolve that?
No, well, just maybe a couple of examples. So our MileagePlus program, maybe some of you are MileagePlus members here. We just treated a gold as a gold. So from a comms perspective, if you're gold, that's our segment, right? If you're a 1K, that's our segment. But actually, these guys really unpacked in terms of that enrichment piece, like multi-segments within each sort of strata of premier status. Like we had no insight into that. We've got a lot of data that sits in there, but that enrichment piece So now that when you talk about hyper-personalization, rather than treating a particular premier status as just one cohort, there are multiple segments in there. And that was really important. Another great example was with Televisa Univision, which is the world's biggest Spanish-speaking media company, which we did a big launch with them on their VIX streaming platform. We wanted to identify Spanish-speaking. And obviously, we know a certain amount, but I think we had 4.5x indexing on from these guys to really understand that those people really are and speak Spanish. Well, we kind of thought they were. And that was great from a commercial perspective in terms of the media side. So, two great examples. There's no way we would have seen those insights without that. So,
Matt, what about last couple of years? A lot of excitement around clean room technology, big acquisitions. Everybody was partnering with everybody. Do we hit a wall there? Are enough brands? It's not clear whether there's got a lot of traction or usage, and there's all these advanced analytics we talked about.
It's such an interesting question because there's such good work happening, and we do in this industry seem to fall for hype because we really like buzzwords. We are marketers at the end of the day, and so
I mean, look around you.
Yeah.
This is the industry.
It is. So I don't think we've hit a wall. I think what's happened is the capability existed. By the way, the capability to do data collaboration has existed for a really long time, but we packaged it as an industry in a quote clean room. It made sense that as we thought about how do we want to do more personalized, relevant marketing, that we said to ourselves, we want to take different data sets that neither can rightly share and match them together and create more relevant marketing experiences. So that all made sense. And then we, layered out all that great technology to do it, and then recognized we had to go back to the office and figure out, well, what clients for what use case are really ready to do that. And so I just think the hype curve got a little ahead of the sphere there. But I don't think the idea that we are not headed towards a world of more data collaboration doesn't make any sense. Again, just think about all the data that these guys represent, their clients represent here. They want to match that up. The United Television, Televisa Univision example is a great one. They're complementary data sets. You need to have ways to collaborate that. We will continue to adopt that technology as an industry. I think we'll be better served when we stop trying to label it as much and we're just trying to do it as part of a strategy. But I'm very bullish on the idea of using these signals in new integrated ways.
Jeremy, are you finding that? I'm sure it depends on the category and the medium, but is there maybe a hesitance to take advantage of what clean rooms have to offer? Are your clients using it a lot? What's going on?
No, we're using it quite a bit, but I think we're looking at it in two ways. I think one, what Matt was saying is there is a lot of hype around it, so kind of tempering that down. But we look at it as how can we use the clean room, take somebody's first-party data, match it up against another data set, see what kind of signals we can collect, how we can create an expansion audience. That's great from audience development and understanding and being able to expand. But then there's optimization, and we're looking at that differently. And you can't pull in multiple partners into one clean room environment and start doing that matching. So we're trying to help our clients understand, okay, this is going to get us to a certain place, but then we've got to run the media, and then we've got to start optimizing against that.
Just going to add one other thought on that. The way we're looking at it, I agree with the hype, because where does data sit? It sits in the cloud, and that's where it's going to happen, right? But we use it from a partnership perspective, identifying the right types of partners, because it's all about incrementality. So we can do overlap analysis with partner A versus B, or look at the sector, like is the market leader versus the challenger brand, and what overlap is that to our audience, and then look at incrementality for them and us. Because obviously if you get almost too much of a match, is that going to drive X incrementality or not? So for the moment, we're using it as a driver, but then there's the execution beyond it. So it's an insight play for us as well.
Yeah, and the other piece with that, which I'm sure helps for you, is it also helps with figuring out what's the right price you should be paying for that inventory.
Okay, we're talking a lot about audience matching and targeting tactics. Where it can, we ought to mention creative strategy, right? And that it's sometimes left to the sidelines in the ad tech universe, but now there's definitely a lot more attention on it or excitement with Gen AI and just creative optimization tools and all that. I'll start with you. We'll kind of go down the line here. Where are we with better utilizing the two things together, with bringing those worlds together?
I mean, the thing we're looking at with creative strategy is really about what's working and why. As close as we can get to the why, that's going to help us feed what we're going to start to do next. I think that's the most important thing. The second thing is being able to have enough iterations where we can do meaningful tests so that we can start to collect that data and really understand and working with our clients to embrace the idea of doing meaningful tests, but also ensure that it's not cost prohibitive to have enough iterations out there so that we can collect enough information and really understand what's happening behind every action that's taken.
You're nodding.
Same question. Yeah, I mean, the way we're looking, I mean, yeah, this is this year's buzzword, Gen AI. It's completely useless if you don't have awesome data. I mean, it's as simple as that. So when you want to move to a hyper-personalized world, the data is critical, and then you can do the kind of orchestration layer, whatever that is. And from a travel perspective, even personally now, when I go on a vacation, I'm using ChatGPT to kind of do my itinerary, like literally hour by hour, what I want to do. That thinking can then be orchestrated inside an airline, to help book travel, but also the adjacent stuff. But it has to be predicated on that first-party data, as well as enriched data. Otherwise, like, you're shooting darts at a wall. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we obviously sit adjacent to the creative development process itself, but I think believe as you guys do, which is the more that you can create different segment strategies, the more you can test and optimize more efficiently and effectively with more data, the more likely you're to create content to match those things. And so, strong believers that data is feeding this whole ecosystem, inclusive of creative strategy.
Or you could just have Meta do it all, right? I mean, they've kind of offered.
Well, there's that answer.
We can all just go home. Right. Yeah.
We'll close it out on this. We'll go down the line here. Give us maybe some words of advice for the marketers that feel like they're not taking advantage of these kind of tactics enough, or maybe some predictions of where things might be headed. I'm going to start with you.
Words of advice. Let's see. Don't be afraid of it. You got to dig in. And also, to Matt's point, don't get too caught up in the hype. The most important thing in my mind is you've got to have resources that you know are skilled and that you trust. That's going to be the most important thing. If you've got that and you've got people that are working with you that you can trust, I'll give them the room to go out and evaluate and make the decisions that are going to move the business forward. That's probably the biggest thing I would share with everybody.
Richard?
Mine would be build the house or the plane. There you go. And fly it, yeah. Build the house or the plane on a real solid foundation of that first-party data. And I still think the industry is kind of bigging themselves up and probably ahead of the curve. Because if that's not solid, then any enrichment partner would be sort of irrelevant to some degree. So again, don't be afraid. I think that's right, but get it right and spend the time. It does take time, but don't be afraid of it. Get to the end because that's really, really important.
Yeah, I love it. I think connect your data. I mean, I think that's the starting point. I think that's the right place. To your point, companies like ours are way more useful when that house or plane is in order. And if you keep your data siloed and you can't actually access it in a way that's useful, then you are limiting your opportunity. So I would make sure you're investing in the right people and the right technology to be able to unlock the richness that you have access to and build from there.
All right, we're right on time. Thanks, gentlemen, for an awesome discussion.
Thank you.
Perfect.